Hey, Focus Trades, it's Chandler. Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week. A little choppy, unfortunately, but hopefully you're finding the opportunities out there. I want to take a minute in this video to break down, one, the overall market, but a few setups that I think are worth watching, regardless of what's going on here with the overall market. So let me shed some light on the rest of the week, and hopefully we can close it out strong. But first and foremost, guys, before we dig into charts themselves, let's talk about a few catalysts here that could impact the overall market. And what I like to do is always look at the economic calendar. So if we take a look and, happy June, we're starting our new month. Tomorrow for Thursday, we get our ADP employment report in the morning. This is going to be a pretty not significant jobs report, but it's always a job report that can usually shake up the market one way or another. If you take a look, we also have our jobless claims, which pretty much happen every week. So they're not as important. But ADP and jobless claims at 8:15, 8:30 in the morning, Eastern time, that could or should at least be a good catalyst that could wake the market up either to the upside or to the downside. As of right now, I'll take anything. We just need to get this market out of consolidation. So hopefully these job reports might do the job. If we take a look at Friday, we also have a pretty interesting catalyst to focus on. One is Jerome Powell here, speaking at 7 a.m. This isn't too interesting because he's speaking on climate change, way before the market opens. So honestly, that's a non-event. But the biggest thing to focus on is non-farm payrolls, aka NFP. This is another job report that we don't get too often. So this is going to be one that, again, could shake up the market, good or bad. So between the few job reports, maybe I can get the market out of chop. And then finally, guys, the next catalyst to focus on, and this isn't actually market specific, is NVDA. So this is just a little blip I took from Seeking Alpha. But if you know about NVIDIA, they announced their stock split about a week ago. However, the stock split still needs to be approved for June 3rd to vote on, if they're going to do that. So this is for tomorrow. So Thursday, pay attention if this vote goes good, if this, sends NVIDIA higher. We'll talk a little more about this when it comes to, prepping NVIDIA. But for now, this is a really important, decision for tomorrow. So the stock dividend still needs to be approved at a shareholder meeting set for June 3rd to vote on increasing the number of authorized shares, aka doing their stock split. So again, that's on Thursday towards the end of the session. Just pay attention to NVIDIA. We'll talk about this a little more in a minute. But let's dig into the charts here, team. So if we take a look, we really have been just quote unquote in the middle of nowhere. Even if we just zoom back and look left, we really have been in this, call it 4,200 range for quite a long time. We're going on about 46 days, creeping up on 2 months here, just going sideways. We had our big drops, we had our big pops, but overall, most of it's been just this sideways, slow, below ATR type of movement. Whenever that happens, we definitely need to be just a little more patient than general, than usual. Right here is a beautiful time to attack to the upside, beautiful time to attack to the downside, play the bounce back up. But when we start to see, repeated consolidation, we definitely need to take a little bit of a chill pill. So if we zoom in here to the market, keeping it very simple when it comes to key levels. If we just look left, the biggest thing to deal with on the upside is simply just all-time high. So coming into this week, I had a few key levels. One was this wick right here, this 42.17 and a half, call it last week's high. We really, rejected there to start the week and then rip through it on Monday, and it completely failed again, chopped all night. And for today's session, we really made up no ground whatsoever. So really the same principles apply here. Market is in the middle of nowhere, but nowhere gives us some squeezes. So let's take a look at a few squeezes for the overall. First is going to be this 4-hour. By no means is this the prettiest looking 4-hour when it comes to Bollinger Bands, but we do technically have a nice 4-hour squeeze here. So overall, whether it's pretty or not, we're just consolidating between two really big levels. So at that point, we can just call it a squeeze. But let's just look around for some better, technical squeezes. 2-hour not the cleanest, and the hourly not the cleanest. So again, we don't need a squeeze as long as we're actually genuinely consolidating. So to wrap up here, a few of the levels that matter in my opinion. One is this 41.77 and a half. That's really the downside level that we need to pay attention to, where if we don't break below that, it's really nothing to stress. We fade into close, we fade here on Monday. We're not really panicking at all. We're still just in the middle of nowhere. Vice versa to the upside. We tried to break through on Monday and got a new little level here of 42.30, right near that all-time high of 42.38. So that's really the biggest level ahead. Getting back through this 42.17 is going to be a bit of a journey. We got near it today and then completely failed. So right back down into the chop fest. So in all reality, the market's got a tough battle ahead of it, where if it can finally have a reason to break out, again, maybe that's a job report, maybe it's not, but we need to clear this all-time high. All these levels are going to be hard until we truly just break through with a good reason in a trending, strong market that goes together. Vice versa to the downside. If we finally get exhausted here and start to finally roll over, really focusing on this 41.77 as kind of the trigger to start that journey. And if it does start that journey, my first target below is last month's point of control, which is an indicator that I love to use. So that currently is about 41.57. So if you look at ES here with an ATR, an average true range of 46 points, if we just assume that we're going to close right here, all-time high is about an ATR away, and point of control is about an ATR away. So again, these are really the two basic levels to focus on. And then really just take a step back, recognize the chop, and make sure we stay out of trouble most of the time. One of the favorite things that I like to do, and it's not my favorite thing, but it's actually just a vital thing that you need to do, is if you are going to trade this market, especially when it's in consolidation, we need to focus on really good setups and playing off really good key levels, and also having a few names on your focus list that don't technically need the overall market. They can kind of do whatever, call them outliers if you would like. So let's dig into a few setups, guys, but that's my thoughts on the overall here. Really just middle of nowhere. And that goes for every index, ES, YM, NQ, they're just completely sideways. So we got to wait and see which direction gives out first. But let's move into our focus list here. First thing I want to cover is NVIDIA. So if we take a look at NVIDIA, it has been just a monster, week and a half, call it, where we bottomed hard here at the 200-day simple moving average, and then we ran hard into that stock split, and we ran hard into earnings. Took a little consolidation after earnings, and then quickly back to work here, breaking all the way to all-time high, and then now through it here for another really monster day. My personal target on NVIDIA this week was 670, my first target, and then 700 being the second target. So if you look, it took that 670 out today, and it's kind of refusing to go lower. So as I mentioned, we're going to get that vote tomorrow on the stock split. Maybe that's the thing that's going to send NVIDIA higher. So after had a really strong session today, a really good day pushing, its ATR about 20 points here. Not sure what to expect tomorrow. The vote is later in the day, so it probably won't impact it during the day, but keep an eye if it just consolidates. So I think one of two things, or three things could happen. One is we see a little bit of profit taking, like we saw on Tuesday morning here, where we just flushed and then it was a really good dip buy. That might be again what happens tomorrow before we get the actual announcement later in the day. So maybe we drop back down towards this 660. I think that's a really good potential dip buy for after the meeting. Vice versa, maybe we just go sideways and consolidate and they wait and see what happens end of day. Maybe they rally it into, Friday. Or we just, explode again tomorrow and we see that steady accumulation and try to take out that 700. So keeping it very simple, definitely want NVIDIA on the radar, but really want to pay attention to how they react tomorrow. Is it a big event? Is everyone kind of confident? We're going to wait and see what happens with price action. But right now with a 20-point ATR, right, another 20 points gets you to 690. Maybe a little extra, we can finish the job to 700. So if we take a look at the NVIDIA chain here, going to really focus on, anything in this vicinity tomorrow, the 580s, 680s, 685s, and even potentially the 700s, depending, how the action looks. But I want to stay in this little range here. So that's my thoughts on NVIDIA. Looks really good right now, but we need to see the reaction tomorrow. So if they can just hold up, break this new all-time high, mission 700 on the way. Next setup, guys, is Google. So if we take a look at Google, this is one that's really just kind of bouncing between some really good levels here. They fill this little gap that they had, and then we've really been holding it nicely. Focusing on these key levels above, this 2404, and call it 2400 range, and all-time high. Google, much like everything else in the market, popped hard last Monday and has done absolutely nothing here. So if we take a look at a few things, one is the daily mean on Google. If it can start to continue to reach this level, I think it's a really good dip buy. However, breaking through this 2346 will kind of be that accelerator right back down towards that key level, which also sits at the mean. So personally, not looking to short this one, but if it does get there, I think it could be a really good dip buy. Vice versa, it might also be a really good dip buy right at this key level here, bouncing back into tomorrow. One thing I do want to keep in mind though is this 4 hour squeeze. We're generally not a big fan of fighting squeezes. When I say fighting squeezes, I mean, playing the opposite direction that they look like they could fire. So right now, it's still in the middle of a squeeze, but if it doesn't bounce here, it's going to start to fire to the downside of this 4 hour. So I want to be very mindful of that. So again, I think Google is a good name to focus on for some, end of week rotation because it's done nothing all week. So pay attention. Does it hit this key level and offer a really good bounce opportunity? With a 40-point ATR, it could work its way back towards this 2390 zone that it failed at this morning. Vice versa, if it does fire here, 40-point ATR, that gets you back down towards this 2321 with that 4 hour squeeze firing. And as I mentioned, that's also the daily mean. I think it could be a really good potential dip buy. So for Google, want to focus on the 2400 calls here. If we take a look, they have really good volume and they're starting to get very cheap as we near the end of the week. So if these do hold and they do bounce back towards this key zone, these are really good risk reward where you're paying about $2 and they can work their way towards 6 to 8, even higher. So amazing risk reward on those Googles. And then vice versa, really not interested in shorting it. But if we take a look, the 2320s, right? 2320s could be a decent strike. So again, one step at a time, but as long as it's kind of bouncing between these ranges, looking to play off these key levels until the squeeze kind of makes up its mind. So that's my thoughts on Google. And then moving on here to Snow. So Snow is a very interesting, unique setup that's going to take a little bit of patience, but I like what it's doing here today. So if we just take a look, this 244 level on Snowflake has been extremely hard. We've been under it for tomorrow marks 100 days. So maybe on the 100th day, Snow finally breaks out. But this 244 has just truly been a menace where we chop, we chop, we chop, we fail hard at it every time. Finally gave out and then bounced back strong here with vengeance. Gap down on earnings and they bought it right back up. And now they're fighting and knocking at this level. So if we take a look at Snow just intraday, we tried to break that 244 to start, last week on Friday. And we made that 247. Kind of took, the rest of the week off. And then this week, kind of just working our way higher. Snow tried to break out today and then completely failed. And they've just struggled at this 244. The only thing I really like about Snow here is what's happening. It's a little bit different. And what I mean by that is every time that it's hit this 244 in the past, it just gets its butt kicked. It falls a lot. Hits it and falls a lot. Hits it, falls a lot. Every time it gets near it, a huge fail. Well, right now it's not failing as much. It's rejecting it, but it's not rolling over. The bulls are staying a little bit more resilient than they have been in the past, where again, they would hit that 244 and just crumble. Well, now they're hitting the 244 and they're still getting smacked in the head, but they're not getting beat up. So this is what I do want to continue to pay attention to for the rest of the week. Personally, want to be very, patient on early entry. Anything below 244 is just very susceptible to fail. And that's why I'm just continuing to slowly watch it here, watch its behavior. If it continues to knock on this key level in this key zone, I think for the rest of the week, it could absolutely fly if it gets through it because it's taken 100 days. So if we take a look here, we're slowly starting an uptrend. Maybe we hold that uptrend overnight, maybe we don't, but this is a good little start. So they're not getting beat up, they're holding, and they're knocking on the door. So if Snow can successfully trade through this zone tomorrow, get back to this 248, I really love a push to and through. That's 250 level. It's kind of my first target here on Snow. ATR of about 11 points. So technically, there's enough room to work its way towards 255-ish. But I really want to focus on playing the 250s if and when this move actually happens. So right now, really good volume on it, a little accumulation leading into it, decent risk reward. So just watch this one team, but be very, I don't want to say skeptical, but make it prove itself. This isn't one where it'll probably pay to be early because it's failed so many times. So really, wait for a little extra confirmation, and I think it could have a really big move ahead of it. So just keep an eye on snow. And then final catalyst here on snow, guys, is this daily cloud. We've been under it for a very long time, and we're finally starting to break into it and hold. So again, just looking to kind of break through it and continue to push higher. But it's all about this 244 and this 247. And then final setup here, team, before we wrap up is Square. So if we take a look at Square, this is one that's rallied really, really nicely and now just going completely sideways. What does sideways give us? Squeezes. So if we take a look here, a few big compasses to focus on are one, this daily 21 EMA, this white line. For the first time in a while, we are holding above it, truly showing this could be a change in trend to the upside as long as we hold that daily mean. So call it 220, call it this 217. As long as it can hold here, I'm waiting for Square to turn around, headed towards 230, break this key wick, which is also the 50, and rally back up towards these highs, this 241. So if we take a look, as I said, we have squeezes, which are looking really, really good right now. If we take a look at this 4 hour, it is pinching extremely tight. We got orange dot here with extended hours on. Bollinger Bands are as tight as they literally can get, just pinching price action. So again, this could go either way, but personally, as long as they hold this key level here, I'm going to lean to the upside. So if they, can just turn around and start to explode towards 230, I love how tight this squeezes. We could see a nice little move in Square. ATR here about 10, 11 bucks. Assuming it closes right where it is, we have a shot at 230 tomorrow if this squeeze can start to pop. If you take a look, we have a little downside trend line here. So that could very well be in play tomorrow. So if it just, opens flat where it is right now, breaks this 220-ish range, that could start to accelerate the squeeze towards 230. And another big key level to watch is just this all-time high, this high of day from today. So little micro zones here, 225, 227, 230. Those are really the big key levels with this wedge potentially being a really good early entry right around here, just assuming it respects it and then breaks out. So again, only thing that matters here is this beautiful 4 hour squeeze. We have every other squeeze as well. So you can watch these as a sequence. See if that hourly starts to fire, see if that 2 hour starts to fire, and then most importantly, this 4 hour here. So just to size up some contracts, as I mentioned, the 230s are the target, and there's huge volume on the 230s today. So I like the 230s and I like the 225s as well. If we break this entry here, 225s will go in the money. Got a shot at 230. So there's another beautiful squeeze to focus on for the week. But that's my thoughts, focus trade. I hope this made sense, and I hope it helps you end the week strong. But thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Thanks so much.